Okay, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome. We've got a big crowd tonight. We're always glad to see people here. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order on April 11th, 2023, and ask our city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Here.
Commissioner Henderson?
Present.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Bray?
Here. Okay, Commissioner Henderson will lead us in the invocation and will remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. Father, we're so grateful to be heirs and joint heirs to your throne. Father, we thank you for the privilege that you've given us to once again to pray, to lay our heads on your heart, and to be reminded that you never leave us nor do you forsake us. Father, we thank you as a commission for the privilege that you've given us to serve this community. We pray, oh God, that you would continue to bless all of us collectively and individually. Father, we pray in the name of Jesus that you would bless our employees, that you would bless our city, Lord God, and that you would show yourself strong and mighty even in our city. Father, we thank you, we love you, we honor you, and we don't want to close this prayer without remembering those, our friends in Nashville and in Louisville. You promised that you would heal the land, and so we're believing that to take place even right now. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray, and we thank you now for everything. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to let you do this next time, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, we've got some proclamations tonight. We have three of them, actually, and the first one is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and then we'll follow that up with Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. And Lori Wells, are you here? Okay. Come on up. Yeah, absolutely, please. And, hanging in there. It's good to see everybody. So this is an official proclamation, and it reads as follows. Whereas National Child Abuse Prevention Month is recognized in the United States during the month of April, and whereas child abuse and neglect are serious problems affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. And whereas effective child abuse prevention activities only succeed with partnerships created between child welfare professionals, educational, health, and faith-based organizations, law enforcement agencies, families, and whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children, and whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now therefore, I, George P. Bray, Mayor of the City of Paducah, proclaim April 2023 Child Abuse Prevention Month. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so, and I've got another one. Were you in the same group to stay up?
Same group. We're all together.
That's the hardest part of my job.
You're doing great.
And our second proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month will be recognized throughout the United States as well as in the Commonwealth of Kentucky during the month of April 2023. And whereas sexual harassment, abuse, and assault are widespread problems affecting every segment of our communities, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. And whereas sexual violence can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for survivors and the greater community. And whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about sexual violence and contribute to creating a visible network of support for survivors. And whereas each of us has the opportunity and shared responsibility to make the everyday choices reflected in our attitudes, words, and behaviors which promote safety and communicate intolerance for violence. Now, therefore, I, George P. Bray, Mayor of the City of Paducah, proclaim April 2023 Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. Okay, now we can clap. So, you want to take pictures?
Oh, yeah.
With both of them? You want to do both of them? Just let somebody else hold the other one? Or?
Mayor, it might work if everybody comes around here. Just
Okay.
sorry. Just set it up easier.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Amber.
You're absolutely, if you want to. Lori wants to say a few words.
Well, I want to thank you, Mayor Bray. We are honored to be here this evening and to accept these proclamations. As your regional Children's Advocacy and Sexual Violence Resource Center serving the Purchase area, our Lotus mission is to support survivors, strengthen families, and empower communities to end child abuse and sexual violence. Child abuse and sexual violence are too prevalent in our communities. This year alone, Lotus will serve more than 1,600 survivors of all ages and their supportive family members, helping them through the entire healing process from crisis through long-term recovery. At Lotus, we see the goal of recovery as not only surviving trauma, but opening up to the possibilities of hope, healing, and growth. Like the lotus flower for which we are named, the courage, strength, and resilience of survivors is exceptional. The lotus flower also represents our vision to create communities free from oppression and violence. We know prevention is possible when we all work together. So whether we have a shared responsibility to respond to and prevent child abuse and sexual violence, whether you are professionals working directly with survivors and families, community leaders, community members, parents or caregivers, family members, friends, neighbors, you can make a difference. So on behalf of our Lotus team, I want to thank Mayor Bray and our Paducah City Commissioners for amplifying our shared responsibility to create a community here in Paducah-McCracken County where every person is safe and respected and can reach their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you. Oh, I think I've got one that's not ours. Here you go.
There you go.
I won't take all the proclamations.
All right, so we have another proclamation, public safety telecommunicators. Who's going to join me up here? Okay, we got a team? Yeah. How are you? Hey, how are you? Thanks for being here. So, this is a proclamation. These are our telecommunicators, 911 folks, and what they do every day is extremely important. And so it gives me really great pleasure to be able to do this proclamation. And it reads as follows: whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, and emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone Emergency Communications Center, and whereas the public safety telecommunicators are the first contact and the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited adeptness, compassion, and a great professionalism during their job performance this year, whereas the public safety telecommunicators of our city contribute substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And therefore, I, George P. Bray, Mayor of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim the week of April 9th through the 15th, 2023 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Paducah in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Let me jump in here.
Okay.
Here, it's yours, it's not mine.
1, 2.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate you coming.
Hey, Kim, you want to talk just briefly about some of the activities that's going on this week? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure, no worries at all. I'm Kim Clark, and I'm the communications manager here in Paducah, McCracken County. And with me today, I have team members Stephanie Goins, Sierra Lloyd, who's our newest telecommunicator, and Tara Martin, sorry. And this week we have activities planned throughout the week. We're taking sort of a Spirit Week approach, and we have been treated beautifully by so many people that we support every day. They showed up this week to support us. So every day has a theme. Tomorrow is Hawaiian Day. And every day we'll have activities as well as food and all that kind of good stuff. The point is to recognize the work that they do and to appreciate and honor them. It's a very difficult job to do as a dispatcher, and we hear things that other people wouldn't even ever want to hear of. But it's our job, and we take it very seriously to care for the people of Paducah, McCracken County, and to be here whenever someone is in need.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the recognition this week. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Now I have an award to bestow. So we have a guest here with us tonight. Sure, yeah. Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you. This is Jaime Romero. Jaime is an artist in residence from Spain, and he's here, in the city of Paducah. And as an honored guest, one of the things that I get to do as mayor is bestow a Duke Award to those distinguished guests like Jaime. So the Duke Award, Duke of Paducah Award, has been in place for well over 70 years, and it is the highest recognition that we can give somebody, either an honored guest like yourself or a resident of the city who we catch doing great things.
Durante más de 70 años han dado Duque de Paducah a gente especial y entonces es el honorífico más alto que puede dar la ciudad.
So the award reads as follows: To all to whom these presents shall come, greeting, know ye that Jaime Romero
A todos los que están presentes saben que el señor Jaime Romero
is named a Duke of Paducah.
está nombrado como Duque de Paducah.
I hereby confer this honor with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities.
El alcalde entonces da ese honor con todas las responsabilidades y honoríficos que pertenecen.
In testimony whereof I have caused these letters to be made patent and the seal of the city to be hereunto affixed, done at Paducah, the 11th day of April, 2023.
Todas las formalidades están hechas y el sello está puesto para dar este honorífico.
Congratulations. This is yours. So, shall we? Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Gracias, muchas gracias.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, City Manager, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, none this evening.
Okay. I'm going to kick off and talk a little bit about discussion that's going on in the community relative to the convention center and its needed repairs, really, which is a replacement of a roof. I don't know where to start, really. I'll try to start at the beginning. There has been a historical practice of funding convention center roofs. There's a KRS, a state statutes 91A 392, that allows fiscal courts in our state, in courts in counties containing an authorized city, of which Paducah is one. And it allows the county to levy an additional 2% room tax. However, this law restricts the use of proceeds generated from the 2% additional room tax for the retirement of bonds relating to improvements, construction or improvements made at a convention center or a fine arts center, of which when the law was originally established, the Carson Center was a recipient of these. The county has theorized that the 2% additional room tax was not intended to be shared or used for the benefit of the city's obligations. Simply stated, the city disagrees with that interpretation of the statute and the position. The county's proposal is contrary to the historical funding arrangements of the parties of the convention center, and that was established initially in 2001. Our research does not support the county's position that the 2% additional room tax was intended only to support the county's obligations. Nowhere in the statute does it provide that the 2% additional room tax is limited for the use of the county's debt obligations to the exclusion of the city. In fact, the sole purpose of the additional room tax is to use all of the money collected from the tax for retiring bonds issued to finance convention centers or fine arts centers located in the central business district of an authorized city, of which Paducah is one. Nothing in the statute suggests that the additional room tax proceeds are owned by the county or can only be used to support the county's proportional share of any debt service for bonds. In fact, the statute fails to designate any portion of the additional room tax revenues as county revenue. The statute mandates that the additional room tax becomes void after the retirement of the bonds and obligates the county to repeal its tax levy ordinance. As such, there is no evidence that we can find that the purpose of the statute was to grant counties a separate funding source. In addition to what our research has turned up, the county's proposal really deviates from historical practice of the parties. And some of the history around this is there's an interlocal agreement that was entered into in 2001, and pursuant to the terms of that agreement, the county specifically assigned the 2% additional tax to the city and was pledged solely to the payment of the principal and interest requirement of the bonds issued by the city to fund the convention center and the original Carson Fine Arts project. That assignment remains in effect. Additionally, in 2010, the county we refinanced bonds, and the county continued to pledge the 2% additional room tax. In 2017, the city borrowed $3 million in order to put in the kitchen at the convention center. The county again agreed to pledge the revenue generated from the 2% additional room tax. The city and county have exclusively used the 2% additional room tax to finance bonds related to the convention center. That 2001 agreement specifically envisions the issuance of additional bonds, which in the agreement are referred to as parity bonds. Parity bonds are specifically identified as additional bonds of the city secured by the same pledged tax and the city's, counties, and the convention center's contributions. We believe the most equitable solution is to fund the cost of the roof repairs, and for the city again issuing bonds to cover the cost of repairs, which would be parity bonds as identified in the 2001 agreement. And for that interest and principal to continue to be paid from the 2% additional room tax. I hate that we're really even in this discussion. I don't fully understand why we're in the discussion, but we're in that discussion. The county has suggested that perhaps that we could find another fine arts institution to fund from those 2% transient room tax funds, but it kind of misses the point of the fact that one of the most important assets that we have in this community is really our convention center. People come in, we use it every day. We've had this roof situation has really been ongoing for a couple of years. And so I wanted to open this up for discussion with any other commissioners that want to make any comments. I wish we weren't, talking about these disagreements in public, but this is the situation we're in, so I'd welcome any other comments from people.
I would just say, I mentioned it before, but, people want the city and county to work together and all that, but we have to be very careful and cautious, and I appreciate the amount of due diligence that you've done, like on the sports center, the 911, things like that, but I really think we need to go into these agreements with eyes wide open, because we don't want to be dealing with headaches, if we have a reluctant partner. So that's just kind of like a cautionary note. So
I would just, it's very clear the precedent was set in 2001 that 2% is for, as outlined in the state statute, for convention centers and fine arts centers. And it was used for that. The city issued the bond, the county agreed to it. They wouldn't have been able to get the 2% tax if they hadn't had a city in their district. So the precedent is there since 2001 that that's where this money is supposed to go to. And, I appreciate the fact that they're saying now that they want to fund something else, but what they could do, it looks like they want to take the hotel transit tax to cover, that's paid for by guests visiting our city, to cover the county's part. But they expect the city taxpayers to pay the other half, when it has been paid in whole in the past by state statute, by interlocal agreement from the hotel tax. So to me, if they want to add something on, then we know we're going to have more hotel stays in our community. We're probably going to have more hotels. Perhaps that we could do the convention center roof, and then add on the money for the Columbia. That's what was said in the paper today. They wanted to give $1 million to the Columbia. If that's the case and we were in agreement, we could add that on to the bond at one time. I'm just throwing that out as a possibility if we were going to do what they were wanting to do as well. I just do not think it's fair to expect the city taxpayers to pay half and the county to use the hotel tax that's been used since 2001 to pay for everything.
And that comes from visitors coming into our city.
It's people staying in our hotels that are coming here, and that's what they're paying. And they have been paying that for the convention center and the Carson Center, because that's what they're coming, those are big attractions to our community, and that's what the money's collected for to pay. The Columbia would, I believe, qualify as a performing arts center if that's what they really want to do, is give $1 million to the Columbia. I only saw what was stated in the paper today that they wanted to do. But beyond that, the convention center is probably going to need more work than just the roof. Let's face it, it's aging. We did put the kitchen in 2017 to upgrade it and to add some new things, but when you go and look at other convention centers across the state, they are continually doing things to improve themselves and to make them more attractive. So I think we have to take all of that in mind, that we're going to need more money for that. But also keep in mind that I think we're going to begin to get more hotel tax too, so we may be able to do more than what we have been able to do with it.
just one other thing is that, the city, we're elected to represent our city constituents. We are also constituents of the county. We are county residents. And sometimes I get the feeling that, I don't think that, it's not like city residents are not county residents. So, when we pay for something, we're also county residents that are paying too. So sometimes I think we don't get recognition for that as well, so, being a city resident.
Any thoughts over here?
I think Commissioner Wilson said exactly what I was thinking. It's the way it's been. I don't know why it's been brought up this time, and I don't know.
So here, I'll propose a solution. It seems, I think we need to upgrade the convention center. We need to do whatever it is required. And we need to bond that work. and have it paid for by the transient room tax. And then if there's a disagreement on the future of this agreement, the way it, then we should ask for an opinion from the Attorney General. If this is a disagreement that we can't settle, in the community. But the most important thing right now is to get a roof on our convention center.
And I would think that I would agree, that is the most important thing. And I know what we have not typically done. But if it means for us to move forward and do some things that we've not typically done so that we can get that roof on the convention center, so that we can get folk to, you have our director who's having issues obviously with renting it, not so much renting it, but having issues with the roof leaking and all that. Let's do what we have to do to get it done, and then work on the other. I mean, just because we haven't done it does not necessarily mean that we can't do some things differently than we've done over the last 20-some odd years.
I would have to say, I don't think it's fair, though, that the county would use the hotel tax and expect the city residents, the people that live inside the city limits, to fund the other half of it. I don't think that's fair to the city residents that we represent.
Okay.
So if we could make an agreement with the county to move forward with this $2 million, as it has been done since 2001, great. And then we can negotiate the future if there are any other bonding issues that we want to do. But I do not feel comfortable that we should obligate the city residents to pay half when the county is not going to do the same thing.
And I would agree with that as well, but I guess my question is, what do we do? Do we come to a stalemate? Do we come to a standstill if we are not able to get the county to pay the $2 million and we come back and negotiate on the other end? What do we do? What are our options then?
I thought I had read in the paper where they did say they would move forward with it now.
They did.
With the $2 million for the roof. And leaving it as it was with the hotel tax paying it. I guess we would need clarification from them on that part.
I think, I think we need to sit down and talk it out, and just, decide a path forward. But, again, I totally agree with you, Commissioner Wilson. It's not fair for taxpayers to pay half for the roof, especially under the current agreements that we have and the practice that we've had.
And I know Michelle's here from the convention center. We want to get that roof on there. I don't want anyone to think that that's not critical for us. It is. But it is a matter of principle for representing the residents of the city, too, on making them have to pay half when the county is not coming through as it should. That tax was designed and put in state statute for convention centers, and the county could get it because they have a city in here. So I think it's critical that we move quickly to try to reach an agreement.
And really, I think also you mentioned maybe what they call them friendly lawsuits, but if it has to be handled by legal action or something, maybe that could get expedited. If we both parties can't agree, then, can't stay where we are. We got to move.
Well, this is, it's not good for the community. I mean,
No.
This is not a good thing. So, I mean, 3 times, 2001, 2009, 2017, a fiscal court and city commission has been able to agree and move forward. And
They followed the law.
right. Okay, anything? All right, we're going to move on then. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. The city clerk will read the items recommended for approval. Unless any commissioner would like an item removed for separate discussion. Are we good with the consent agenda? Then I'll ask the city clerk to read the items recommended for approval.
Approve minutes for the March 28th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting. Receive and file documents. Appointment of Tim Story to the Civic Beautification Board to replace Anya Lasota, who resigned. This term shall expire July 1, 2027. Appointment of Gail Kaler to the Paducah Planning Commission to replace Lorraine Schrampke, who resigned. This term shall expire August 31st, 2023. Personnel actions, a municipal order approving a memorandum of agreement with Dr. Daniel Jones for certain incentives and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same. A municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute an application for a 2023 Matching Insurance Services Safety Grant in the amount of $3,000 through the Kentucky League of Cities for reimbursement for safety equipment purchased for employees working in confined spaces and for personal protective equipment, accepting any grant funds awarded by KLCIS and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same. A municipal order authorizing the application for an EPA Environmental Justice Government to Government grant in the amount of $1 million and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same. A municipal order adopting change order number 1 to the construction contract with Dredge America Incorporated for a decrease in scope and price, reduction in the amount of $1,647, and authorizing the mayor to execute the change order. A municipal order approving a fleet maintenance, motorized equipment, and emergency apparatus service agreement with the Salem Fire Department to provide fleet maintenance services at hourly rates and authorizing the execution of all documents related to same. A municipal order accepting the bid for sale to the city of one SUV in the amount of $44,354 for use by the Paducah Fire Department and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same. A municipal order accepting the bid for sale to the city of 2 pickup trucks in the total amount of $88,000 for use by the Facility Division and Parks Department and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same. A municipal order of the Paducah City Commission authorizing the filing of a Kentucky Senate Bill 150 line item grant application in the amount of $100,000 to the Department for Local Government for the Paducah and Louisville Railroad Incorporated Rockport Bridge Project, accepting all awarded funds, authorizing the mayor to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by the DLG to carry out the project, and authorizing the mayor to act as the authorized correspondent for this project.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, we have 4 municipal orders here tonight that are related to the Paducah water system. And so I'll ask the clerk to please read the first one.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order approving the selection of ATA CPAs and advisors for PLLC for financial audits for the Electric Plant Board DBA Paducah Power System for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2023, 2024, and 2025.
So moved.
Second.
It's Paducah Power for that one.
That's Paducah Power, yeah.
I mistakenly said Paducah Water, sorry.
I was looking to, Doug, if you want to come forward, please.
Okay.
We have Doug Hanley here with Paducah Power to update you
Just
on
tell
this.
us what it's all about.
Well, Paducah Power System has a separate audit and financial statements, so we have to hire an auditor periodically, and we try to do it with a multi-year term. But we've had the same auditors for longer than I've been here, so it's over 5 years. And so we wanted to get a new set of eyes on the financials and issued an RFP last year to solicit audit firms to provide the audit services for Paducah Power. And unfortunately, as a result of that competitive bid opportunity, only one firm provided a proposal, and that was a firm out of Nashville, and it was not at a price that we thought was acceptable. So because this is professional services, it really doesn't have to be competitively bid. So, but we tried that, and so we then just did some informal calling and soliciting bids from as many local firms as we could contact, and still didn't get any new local firms to bid. We did get a firm out of Murray that they're recommended. They do audits for municipal utilities, so we felt that was the best choice. And But the way this works is the City of Paducah approves the selection.
Right.
After that, Paducah Power will negotiate, execute, and pay for the audit services provided by this firm.
So you had to find somebody that would even do the work, and now you've got to negotiate the price?
We did get the price
You did get the price, okay.
proposal, and I wanted to put that, they put that in the letter of acceptance, so once I sign that, then that'll lock in the prices.
Okay, okay. Now, you put it out for bid and you got one bid. Could you have just started negotiating from the beginning without putting it out for bid the first time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the state statute that governs this is because Paducah Power was organized originally under the charter of the city, even though they have their standalone board and everything, it still requires that to come back. And so we did, in working with Paducah Power and Doug and the team there, we walked through the process of trying to get a competitive opportunity. It wasn't required under state statute because of professional services, and that's one of the professional services that does not require to go off to a competitive RFP. We thought that that was an opportunity to see if we could have some cost savings. It wasn't realized, as Doug explained. So under the city's authority and the city manager's office, I issued a statement that that wasn't the best path forward. It gave them the opportunity for Doug and his team to enter into some negotiations, seeking out other companies that would be willing. There's a real struggle in the auditing firm world right now of even having enough workers to do the audits. We're not unique in that situation, but all of that allowed us to get here tonight, and they took it to their board, who made the recommendation to come to this board with this recommendation. But it does require this action by the Board of Commission.
Okay. Questions? All right, thanks, Doug. We appreciate it. Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.
Thank you, Doug.
So now the next three municipal orders for Paducah Water. And Jason Peterson is here, and he's, I'll let him talk about it, and then I'll let you read them, and then we'll vote on them individually. Jason?
Mayor, Commissioners, you may remember in January when Governor Beshear was in town and he had some big blue checks. Paducah Water received a big blue check in the amount of about $1.6 million. And this was the second round of ARPA grant funds that were allocated through the state to each county to the water and wastewater utilities. So as part of the process to realize those grant funds, we're bringing forth municipal orders that would set in motion a series of submittals through the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority that would allow us to access those funds to move forward three projects that we've identified. So the three municipal orders, there is one for each project that we've identified, and each is a complement to our existing ongoing capital improvement program. And I'll touch on all three if that's okay at the time. The first project is we have two tanks identified. They're existing elevated storage tanks, and this project would combine those two. We would add mixing inside of each tank and blast and paint the inside, and for one tank, the inside and outside, to restore its service life of 20 years plus for its routine painting. So this grant funds would allow us to accelerate the maintenance schedule for those two tanks. The second project is a bit unique. It's referred to as air stripping, and our treatment facility has a fairly unique circumstance that when the dam at Kentucky Dam releases water through the gates, it results in air coming out of solution and trapped in our filters, which affects our filter efficiency. And this project would involve constructing an air stripping facility at our existing treatment plant to restore some of the operational efficiency of our conventional filters that we have in place. The third project is for updating our hydraulic model. Our consultant Hazen has a computer model of our entire water system, and With the merger with West McCracken, that adds about 85 miles of water mains with appurtenances into our system. And this is an opportunity for us to bring that into our hydraulic model and go through a calibration so that we have a complete total hydraulic model. So requesting approval of the 3 municipal orders to allow us to continue through the process of accessing those grant funds is what we're
So
requesting.
it's 1.7 million? Is that what you-
1.65.
Okay. Well, I think we're all very fortunate to have a utility, water utility that's as well-run, well-managed, and clean and efficient as Paducah Water is. And, when we had that scare, up, I guess, what was the rail spill, where, people got concerned, downriver a little bit. You guys were proactive in communicating. So I applaud you for that. And,
Thank you, Mayor. We have a great group of folks that work hard every day, and we appreciate your confidence and your kind words.
Okay. All right, thank you for being here. City Clerk, I'll ask you to read the first one.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Approving and Authorizing the Board of Commissioners of the Paducah Water Works to Accept the Cleaner Water Program Grant Award and Enter into a Grant Assistance Agreement with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority in connection with the Tank Painting and Mixing Project."
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, you can read the second one.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Approving and Authorizing the Board of Commissioners of the Paducah Water Works to Accept the Cleaner Water Program Grant Award and Enter into a Grant Assistance Agreement with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority in connection with the Air Stripping Project."
So moved.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. And go ahead and read the third one.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Approving and Authorizing the Board of Commissioners of Paducah Water Works to Accept the Cleaner Water Program Grant Award and Enter into the Grant Assistance Agreement with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority in connection with the Hydraulic Model Update Project in West McCracken County."
So moved. Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Jason. Okay, we have 3 ordinances to adopt that we read a couple of weeks ago. And then we have 1 ordinance to introduce. So we'll go ahead and start with the first ordinance.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Execute an Agreement Between the City of Paducah and Professional Firefighters of Paducah, Local 168, International Association of Firefighters." This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement with the Professional Firefighters of Paducah, Local 168, International Association of Firefighters. This agreement will become effective July 1, 2023, and expire on June 30th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? When we kind of went, Stephanie was here 2 weeks ago, and so glad to move forward with this. I know Nathan's out there, so let's call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. We're going to do it now? Okay.
So representatives from Nathan and the IAF, if you want to come forward for the signing.
Like members with me to
Yeah.
stand up.
Yep,
please.
most definitely.
I'm doing well. Where you want me to sit?
Well, it looks like we're going to play chess. Chess has already been played.
Make sure you're grabbing the right one. Oh, there's 2 there, so we want to make sure that we got the,
It's the one on top. There should be
IFF.
one place for you each to sign.
On this one.
yep.
You guys get to keep the pens?
David better steal my pen.
It's back, and I have my own.
I expected no less. What about this? What is?
That's
We'll do
the
that
next
next
one.
time.
That's for the police
Okay.
department.
All right. So what are we doing? Take a picture? or-
Yes, sir, please.
Yep.
Where are we going?
Right here. Just taking a picture.
Lindsay will.
Maybe I'm gonna come. Everybody dwarfs me.
1, 2, 3. We'll get one more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Go.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Congratulations, yes.
Nathan, good to see you.
Yes.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Yes.
Sir, you're welcome.
Good to see you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
How you doing? Okay. What's going on, guy?
Thank you.
Okay, read the next one, please.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Execute an Agreement Between the City of Paducah and the Paducah Police Department Bargaining Unit." This ordinance is summarized as follows, that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute an agreement and other associated documents between the City of Paducah and the Paducah Police Department Bargaining Unit. This agreement shall be effective from July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, it's official.
Yep. Nathan? Chief, you're welcome to come forward also.
Right. Next, okay. I tried to make a note.
And there are 2 places for you each to sign on this one.
Can we date it?
Today.
All right, it's done.
Get it.
Appreciate everything you did.
Yeah. I want to get it. Did you get a photo, Lindsay? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
All right, man. Good to see you.
We need official.
I will make sure you.
We'll get you a copy.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and read the next ordinance.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Amending Chapter 106, Section 106-180, Definitions, and 106-184, Deductions and Withholding of License Fees by Employer to file returns and pay license fees to city, due date to file returns and pay license fees of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Paducah, Kentucky." This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance amends Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Paducah, Sections 106-180 and 106-184 regarding electronic filing requirements for payroll processors. This ordinance amendment will require payroll processors to administer and process the payroll of 6 or more employers per quarter to submit the returns through an electronic means.
So moved.
Second.
So this is the payroll improvement process that we talked about 2 weeks ago. So I think we're all elated with this. So Go ahead and call roll, please.
Commissioner Guest?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, we have two ordinances to introduce, and the first one is a pretty big one. So I'll ask Amy Clark, Director of Parks and Rec, to come up and give us the good news.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner, City Clerk, and City Manager. So tonight we have an ordinance for the construction of the pickleball courts in Noble Park. The bids closed March 28th, and our low bidder was PCC Sports with a bid of $518,967 for concrete, post-tension concrete, 8 courts to go in Noble Park. That also includes $183,000 for an alternate of lighting. And so in the contract agreement, we have a total cost of $701,967 for this project. This will take 2 readings. So with approval at April 25th, we would be able to issue a notice of award with a notice of proceed to follow that. And the estimated timeline would be about 2.5 months for completion of the construction.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's quick.
Yes, so maybe even before the summer's over then,
Correct.
would you anticipate doing that 1st of May possibly?
Yes, the goal is to be able to start mid-May with the completion of by the end of July.
Oh, Amy, I know this includes like the courts. What all does it include? Lighting, the courts?
It does. So we bid the lighting as an alternate. As part of the original bid, it includes 8 courts, fencing around the courts, sheltered benches on the courts, as well as the netting. So.
I know, I'm just going to say, the pickleball players are very interested in what we're doing tonight. I've talked to some of them today. And I have mentioned, that I think the bid was more than what we had anticipated, that there could be some needs that they have that aren't included in this. So for them to be thinking about that, if they would be interested in doing some of their own fundraising to help to provide other amenities that they might want at the pickleball courts. And I think they seem very interested. They're very excited about this, very appreciative, and looking forward to the completion of it and really want to be a partner with us on it.
Yes, there's definitely opportunity for that. These courts will include a perimeter walking sidewalk, and then also a sidewalk accessing the existing bathrooms at the tennis courts. But there is no parking as part of the project, so there's an opportunity there to create a separate parking area if funds are able to be raised.
Yeah, these are going to be high quality pickleball courts.
They will be.
And, this is one of the first things I heard about after I was elected 2.5 years ago.
Been a long time coming.
It's been,
Yeah.
so, and meanwhile, I've been watching a few pickleball matches, from time to time. So it's very exciting. The sport's exploding. I think we're in the right place at the right time. And, this is going to be available for, both city and county residents as well as folks from out of town. So.
Just making a comment, these pickleball courts are going to be great, and kudos to you, Amy, because earlier it was like 800,000, and you did some work, you got it down to 700,000, so that's great. But I mentioned earlier about the city, the county, and this is an example of we're going to spend $700,000 city taxpayer money. We're putting an amenity in that will be used by both the city and county residents, but we gladly do that. So I think sometimes people don't realize that this is city money that is putting these in, and they're offered to everyone in the in the county as well. So sometimes we have to recognize that this is things that we're doing for the benefit of the community, not just city residents. So,
Great point.
Yeah, well said.
I probably didn't think about extra parking as amenities they might raise funds for. I was thinking
Don't
more,
back
will
off. Don't back off.
well, I was thinking more, will there be bleachers available there?
There will be
and-
some seating for the like on the side, on the in between, like the courts are kind of stacked. So there will be seating in between the courts for spectators. It'll be minimal, but it definitely will be able to support a league or something like that.
Okay, and would they have shade over, I guess I mentioned extra bleachers or shades
Yes,
or.
that's all part of
you know,
the
all of
original
that.
project.
So, okay, good. Well, we can work with them on what else they might need and we need.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate, at the appropriate time, it would be good, meet with them.
Yeah,
Meet
absolutely.
with a group of them, you know. And
Well, and Amy's already been having those conversations. And,
Okay,
and
that's
beyond that,
great.
We've talked about that.
We are too. I mean, they were their calling, so yes, we know.
But also, it's a great point to remind, or a great time to remind, as folks are thinking about that can be a tax-deductible donation, if they choose to do, to make it, and we can allocate it towards this project, and so.
Yeah, and there is parking there at the tennis courts and then over by
Yes.
Montgomery Lake.
Yes.
Over in there, which is pretty close to it. But I see that there will be need for others, more parking, but there is parking there to begin with.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you for all your hard work on it.
No problem.
I know there's going to be a lot of excitement about it.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll let you read it.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Precision Construction and Contracting LLC, PCC Sports, in an amount of $701,967 for the construction of pickleball courts at Noble Park and amending ordinance number 2022-6-8740 entitled, an ordinance adopting the City of Paducah, Kentucky annual operating budget for fiscal year July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023 by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government. This ordinance accepts the bid of PCC Sports for the construction of 8 pickleball courts at Noble Park using post-tension concrete and including electrical and lighting in the amount of $701,967 and authorizes the mayor to execute the agreement with PCC Sports. Further, the annual budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023 as adopted by ordinance number 2022-6-8740 is amended by the following reappropriations. Transfer $350,000 from the investment fund balance to the pickleball project account PA 0125.
So moved.
Second?
Call roll.
First reading.
Sorry, first reading. So I'll get it figured out one of these days. Okay, second ordinance to be introduced is consensual annexation, and maybe I'll let Stacy read that first. Lindsay, I'm sorry, and then we'll have Josh talk about it.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance extending the boundary of City of Paducah, Kentucky by annexing certain property lying adjacent to the corporate limits of the City of Paducah and defining accurately the boundary of said property to be included within said corporate limits. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah hereby approves the consensual annexation of certain tracts of property contiguous to the present city limits located at 252 Locust Avenue, containing approximately 1.47 acres of land.
So moved.
Second.
Josh?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. This is a consensual annexation of approximately 1.47 acres. It does include part of a right-of-way of Coleman Road. The total lot area is a little over 84,000 square feet, but the property owner is only requested that we annex about 2/3 of that. It's next to the M1 Light Industrial Zone on the north end of town, and that's what his petition to the Planning Commission will be for an initial zone. He has mentioned things like a retail shop or convenience store in the future, but he's not sure what his plans are, and M1 would accommodate for that. So that's later on down the road. So as of right now, just the annexation's on the table for tonight for first reading.
Questions from anybody? Okay, thank you, Josh.
Thank you all.
Is Hope out there?
Yep, right
Oh, sorry, didn't see him. Okay, the next, we have a discussion item, and Hope Reason's our grant writer. who's been here long enough to get us big grants, I know. And she's going to give us an update on all the hard work she's been doing.
Yes. Well,
Welcome.
good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Clerk. You have in your packets tonight in the very back a couple of reports that are fiscal year summaries for fiscal year 21-22 and 22-23. 21-22 is included in there because some of the grants that we applied for during that fiscal year did not come, we didn't find out about them until a little bit more recently, but we have heard about all of them now, and so that's why that report is included in there. And then we've got 22-23 year-to-date so far. And so there are a few things that I wanted to talk with you all about. Can I control this? Okay. So right now, the city is managing $19.4 million in grant funding, and the total amount of match that we have that goes with that is $1.6 million. In 21-22, we submitted 15 grant applications. We were awarded 12 of those and were declined on 3. In this year to date, we have submitted 16 applications thus far. 6 have been awarded, 2 were not awarded, and then we have also received a preliminary award letter for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for the Parks and Recreation Department. And so we're in the process of doing some paperwork for them to get that agreement in. So these are the grants that we have received this fiscal year to date. The Justice Assistance Grant, otherwise known as the JAG grant, for $12,284. That was used for the police department to get additional body armor to help protect them from rifle shots, in addition to pistol shots that they already had with their body armor. We received the Community Development Block Grant for the Senior Center. The KLC liability grant for $3,000, that was for an online training site. We received a game time playground grant for new playground equipment at Coleman Park. That was like a 50-50 grant, like they paid half and we paid half for that playground equipment. We just recently got the approval back for the block grant for Four Rivers Recovery Center. Tree City USA, we will have something coming up next meeting for Arbor Day. We did receive that Tree City designation again this year and have received that for many years running now, and are very proud of our work with that. And then the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant is $81,885, and that is for new playground equipment and poured-in-place rubber ground covering at Kyler Park. And again, that's where the grant pays half, and then the city matches half of that with our funding. So then, because grant writing and grant reporting is one piece of this, but it would be for naught if we didn't have great people carrying out these day-to-day activities. And so I wanted to take just a few minutes to brag on some of my coworkers and the work that they are doing with these funds. And I wanted to start with the police department and the COPS grant and our student resource officers, because they have been very busy and doing some amazing work with our students here in the city. One of those things, they participated in the Chamber of Commerce's West Kentucky Launch Experience for 8th grade students. One of the things that we're finding with the resource officers is that the children and students are becoming more comfortable with them. They're comfortable with coming to them and talking to them about problems with other students, things that are happening in their homes, and our resource officers are able to help make mental health referrals for them and get them into counseling. They also took some children to, and I'm probably going to mess up this name, Camp Ondasonk. Okay. For 3 days, and they got to do a lot of activities while they were at that camp. This was an award for some of the work that these children have done. They have implemented a DARE program for 5th grade students, and then I thought this was really neat too. They have started a safety patrol program with kindergarten through 2nd grade. And the student resource officer takes students through the school. They look for things that are out of place, like if there's some vandalism or if they see, a door was left open, and then the students go to the principal and they talk about what they found. And so and this is just a drop in the bucket of some of the things that they are doing with the students. So then we also have the EPA Brownfields Assessment Grant. Last quarter, we bid it out and entered into a contract with Tetra Tech for our environmental services portion of that grant. And then we also had a community kickoff meeting back in March. It was well attended. We had bankers there, we had realtors there, we had people from the steering committee, and then we had several EPA representatives there, and got to talk about the things that are coming up with that grant and, the potential long-term for the redevelopment and benefits to this grant program and the property owners that can be eligible for the assessment and long-term even cleanup and redevelopment of those places. And I don't know what happened to my picture. I had a picture there. The Assistance to Firefighters Grant, I wanted to touch on that a little bit. That had two components to it. One component was to install exhaust systems into each of the fire stations, and we entered into a contract with Magna Grip for that. And that began in March and has now been completed. And what that does is it has these hoses that attach to the fire trucks and ventilates them to the outside of the building. And so now, instead of our firemen being in the building enclosed with the fumes from those trucks, they are now being diverted outside. And so that, having fumes in those buildings presented some health risks. And so this is a really great benefit that we've been able to do and get that done in all of our stations. And then Parks and Recreation Department got a crumb rubber grant from the Division of Waste Management, and this was used for Langstaff Park. It helped fund the poured-in-place surfacing. And I don't know if you all were familiar of the before with this park. It had a swing and a slide. And so it was due for a nice upgrade. And you can see that our Parks Department installed new playground equipment there that is accessible and inclusive, and really a big benefit to that area and giving children a lot more space and activities in that neighborhood for them to participate with. And then last but not least, it is the grant and aid time of year. This year we made a few little changes to the policy and application process. We reduced 3 applications to 2. And then we also, this year, the workshop was mandatory for any organization that wanted to apply for a grant this year. After last year, when I did the workshop last year, I had, I don't know, maybe been here a month, maybe more. And so I really learned a lot through that process, and wanted to make sure, based on some of the proposals we received last year, that everybody was here for the workshop so that everyone really understood the policies and the premise behind how we fund those grants. And we had probably like 30 to 35 people attend the workshop. And then the proposal deadline was March 30th, and we've received 20 applications. And so the committee and I will be reviewing those soon to make recommendations.
Do we request financials from any of the organizations that request a grant and aid? Do we see their financials, their balance sheets?
We do. We ask for their organizational budget, and then they submit a budget for the project that they're requesting funds for. And then depending on the size of the organization, anyone that applies for $5,000 or more, we request an audit. Occasionally, an organization is small or they're just up and coming, and they will give us other financial statements. But yes, we do request that and review that as part of the process.
Okay, thank you. So that also helps with the need too.
Yes, it does. And one of our requirements in the process is that their request cannot be more than 50% of their total budget.
Thank you.
I have a question. You know, we hear about, and maybe we talked about this the last time you were here, but, you know, we hear about a lot of grants out there, and I think there's standard grants, you know, that we participate in on an annual basis, and but if you're looking for new grants or new opportunities, how do you seek those out?
Multiple methods, really. So I do get emails every day of federal grants that are coming out. Some of the federal and state agencies, they do, you know, especially with the Inflation Reduction Act coming out, and because you're right now there is more grant funding coming down the line than we've probably ever seen and probably won't see again for quite some time. And so like Department of Transportation, Department of Energy, they are sending out updates consistently and holding webinars for different grant opportunities that are coming out. And then as I see those come across, I will, you know, do the research background on them, either forward them to the city manager or to the appropriate department, have them look at it and see if it's something that aligns with, you know, what we're wanting to do and wanting to accomplish. But yes, those departments in particular, and then, you know, I participate in webinars and emails like from the Energy Communities Working Group, KLC sends out updates. There's just a lot of different ways that we get that information.
So do you ever, is there such a thing as meetings for grant writers? I mean, meetings that you attend where, you know, either, it wouldn't be continuing education, but where you're in a room with other grant writers?
Yes, there are. Most of the ones I've done in the last year have been virtual, but some of those different organizations also offer, you know, tips for grant writing and how to, you know, write a federal grant and items like that. And then sometimes I go to ones that will fit into what we want to apply for, but it may not specifically be. So this past week I went to one on complete streets. One of the grants that we did not get this year was the Safe Streets and Roads for All. And so that has come out again. And so we have met to look at that. So I went to this Kentucky Transportation Cabinet training on complete streets that will help with writing that grant. It was all engineers and me in there, but it was very informative and provided really good information. So there's both that I do at different times.
Do like Owensboro, Bowling Green, Hopkinsville, they have grant writers? I mean,
They do. Sometimes,
just wondering about your
peers.
peers, you know, and whether or not you guys ever exchange, you know, best practices or exchange information. I guess in some cases it could be competitive, but.
It could be, yes. But my thoughts are that, you know, there's plenty to go around and the best fits it's gonna work out for. So, yes, when particularly like EPA meetings, like they will hold sessions just for grant people to get together and network and talk, and so there are some opportunities out there for that.
Okay. Well, I think the work you're doing is important, so I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything?
Good job.
Okay.
Thanks. And I did want to say, this time last year, you asked me a question about my time and how much time I spent on writing grants versus managing grants.
I forgot to ask you this year, sorry.
That's okay, I was ready. Last year, it was like about 80-20, 80% writing, about 20% managing. That has really shifted. I would say probably 60-40, 60 writing and 40 managing. And sometimes that just depends on the month. Like right now, it's kind of like grant writing season. And so I have like several proposals in my queue, I guess, to look at and work toward. But then it's also federal reporting time. And so that has really balanced out a whole lot more than what it was when I first started.
And the top couple of grants that you're managing are?
I would say right now, more the federal grants, like the EPA Brownfield grant, the COPS grant, working with them, getting those reports in.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much for coming, and great job. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Hope.
Okay, comments. City Manager, any comments?
None this evening, Mayor.
Commissioners?
I have one. It's
Okay.
really just quick. I know there's a recap that was done in the paper on the group that was in and the meeting we had regarding the property off Pecan Drive. And in the story, it was paraphrased versus concerning my comments. And I think the paraphrase, while it wasn't, I don't think it was the best paraphrase, but I just want to make sure. The paper said Commissioner Robert Smith called the drama an unexpected downside of the new development. And I didn't really call it drama, and I don't want people to feel like, because a lot of people really had their heart into the meeting. They're passionate about this development or against the development. So I don't want people to think that those were my words. What I actually had said was, for years, there's not been a lot of development, and it was kind of good news, bad news. That the good news was that Paducah was growing, and that these are problems and challenges that come with it. So that's what I said, and I don't want people to think I took their feelings flippantly and all. So I just want to say that.
Well said. So, and on that topic, I mean, that meeting for the Board of Commissioners, I think was tough. We had a lot of friends out there in the audience, and like Commissioner Smith said, very passionate, and it's part of the job that we have to do to move forward, for growth in the community. And sometimes, folks don't agree with us, and that's uncomfortable, but it's part of what we have to do. One of the things I learned a long time ago is, man, you're just not going to please everyone out there. So it's just part of what we have to do here in order to lead the city. So,
Mayor, I had.
Yeah.
Lindsay and I are both wearing our dogwoods. So to me, this is one of the most beautiful times in our city is when the dogwoods are lit up. And I know the trail is opening up this week, and they've judged the houses in the competition for that. So it's just a beautiful time. I want to encourage everyone to do that, to enjoy the dogwoods and take the dogwood trail. It's also a good reminder the quilters will be here in 2 weeks, I believe. And it's, everything that we can do. I've been calling Darren, I've been sending pictures to you about cleaning up our downtown area, encouraging our business owners to sweep in front of their stores, to help us plant some planters. And I saw some plants downstairs, I guess, getting ready to go out to be planted. So, we just really want to spruce up our city and make it look good. It's the most beautiful time that you could be here. Christmas was beautiful, but the Dogwood Trail is just really a great time.
Well said.
I have an issue that last year, I know you for sure had a dogwood lapel, and none of the rest of us seemed to rate.
When I got it out this morning, it's dated 2017.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think they're for sale anymore. Yes, but I will say Triangle Enterprises made this.
Really?
And made the flowers, and then they were painted by the artist. And I think the design was by Carol Vanderboe,
nice.
and I know she'll be here for the City Beautification Awards. I asked him this morning, I said, would you make more? And so we need to encourage them to make more, because I really do think, every time I wear it, somebody makes a comment about it.
Yeah, looks good.
It's going to have to be a little smaller for me to put it on my lapel.
Well, they should make some small ones. Maybe they could do that too.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have 3 people wanting to make comments tonight, which we're looking forward to, and I'll ask our city clerk to please read our policy relative to that, and then I'll call people up.
The City of Paducah welcomes public comments from citizens, and in order to allow for more productive interactions, has adopted rules for those wishing to make comments. The public is invited to make comments about any subject within the scope and responsibility of the Board of Commissioners. It is the right of the presiding officer, the mayor, to moderate, allow, disallow, extend, or limit public comments at city commission meetings. Anyone wishing to make public comments must complete a public comment card and submit it to the city clerk before the start of the meeting. Cards turned in after the start of the meeting will not be accepted. Speakers must maintain decorum and respectfulness to the elected officials and others in attendance when addressing the city commission. No elected official or staff member may be targeted individually. Public comments will be halted if a speaker is disrespectful, threatening, or out of order. The city commission is under no obligation to respond to public comments. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person unless extended by the presiding officer. However, if several attendees wish to make comments on the same topic, they may be asked to select a representative to make comments on behalf of the larger group. When you're asked to come forward to make comments, please state your name, your address, whether you are a city resident, and if you're speaking on behalf of an organization or group.
Thank you, Lindsay. And first up, Dorothea Davis. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone, to our commissioners, and to Darren Jordan and to Ms. Parrish. You do a great job. I just want you to say on behalf of all administrative personnel, you do a great job. I'm going to be short and concise and to the point. 3 minutes. I got you. I just heard a doctor in Louisville say that he is more than tired. He is weary. While he was speaking about his work with gunshot victims, it resonated in my soul about social justice and diversity kinds of work. We've recently witnessed on more than one occasion the power and the privilege of white men in our community to break laws, behave immorally, and still triumph. I, as a black woman, am weary. There seems to be a recurring message that resounds in this community and promotes racial inequality, explicit bias, and overt division. Holding the bullhorn are those who seem to be untouchable when they have a blank check to express any kind of racist sentiment towards marginalized groups and people. We have no voice and no recourse, and I am afraid. As the mother of black children, I am afraid. What else can you do to us? And our screams go unattended and even silenced. The purpose of the Paducah Diversity Advocacy Board is to serve as an advocacy board for DEI as it concerns the mayor and city commissioners on issues regarding strategies that improve outcomes for marginalized communities and assist the city in strengthening its relationship with diverse community groups, especially historically underrepresented communities. However, we too are silenced. We have been told that we didn't need the JC Civic Center and that we should find other means to host important civic events, family reunions, and social events when we have historically utilized the center because it is affordable and equitable for us to do so. We can't afford Walker Hall. At the hands of the decision makers, we were almost stripped of a very important historical landmark. We have to endure racist joking and blackface, and we are supposed to suck it up and just let it go because there is nothing that we can do about it. Well, there is something that we can do. We can call for the kind of policy reformation that promotes zero tolerance in racist behavior, the same kind of zero tolerance exacted against 2 city employees who were fired because of supposedly using racist language. I was once asked if marginalized people really want change. We not only want change, we demand change. We want to see decisive actions that are going to be taken to ensure that Jim Crow law is not used to support racist actions in 2023. We want to see this city develop a diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging plan that will be used in the foundational work of changing policies that are beyond biased. We want to see the mayor and the city commission actively engaging and educating themselves and the public in meaningful discourse that is not the answer to an alarm, but is the answer to building a city where everyone belongs and can expect its elected officials to lead that charge. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dorothea.
Thank you.
Mr. DeJuan Thomas.
Hello, I am DeJuan Thomas, as you may know, and I must start by saying I'm not surprised by your decision to reinstate David Gass. This city has a track record of talking big talk, but your actions always speak louder than your words. I have a few simple questions. Who was consulted in your decision to settle with Mr. Guest? Was it the community? Was the NAACP? Or was the Paducah Diversity Advocacy Board? Or is PDAB, and I'm speaking as a citizen, not as a representative of the board, or is PDAB just something that you can boast about in press releases and on the news? Because they weren't consulted. So who did you consult before making that settlement? Do you not have an answer? Mayor Bray, Commissioner Sandra, Commissioner Henderson?
Just waiting on you to finish your...
No, that's my question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is not really typically a Q&A session.
Okay.
Continue.
Well, I also filed an open records request, so I will get that answer either way if you decide not to answer here. Because Mayor Bray, if I do remember correct, when we ran against each other for mayor, you boasted about transparency being one of your priorities, and you're lacking it right now. But I'll move on because I'm a law student now, and I've known about law for a while, and I know to make a settlement, there has to be negotiations. And there has to be things brought to the table. Did DEI get brought to the table for Mr. Guest to be allowed to come back? Was anything brought up about him being more involved in minority-based events and minority communities? Was any of that brought to the table? No answer. What has David Guest displayed to the commission that shows that he has had a change in heart or that he even cares? Because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen him in the community. I haven't even seen him at the DEA that PDAB hosted, and I spoke about that last time. And then, like Ms. Dorothea brought up, what about the 2 city employees that were fired for a similar act? Do they get to come back too? Do they get to reach a settlement? You have set the precedent that when situations like this arise, you will put on a show for the community and try to sweep it under the rug when the heat dies down. But the fire that God has put in my heart will never die out. This has actually made it stronger. So you should be ashamed of the decision you have made. And if I was serving next to you, I would not have tucked my tail and turned my back on the citizens of this great community. And how I feel about Mr. Guest, speaking directly to the whole board, he may have won the battle, but he has not won the war. Because as long as this community has a voice at the ballot, he will no longer be in that seat. And I still urge you to resign and to stop disgracing the seat of city commissioner.
All right, DeJuan.
I think this
Thank
is getting
you.
this personal.
Do you have any answers since my 3 minutes is not up? So as you see, community, the city will not answer these simple questions, but my Freedom of Information Act will have those answers, because all of your communications in regards to David Guest and myself will be brought to the public. Transparency. You're lacking it, Mayor Bray. You're lacking it, Ms. Sandra Wilson. You're lacking it,
Come
Reverend.
on. That's enough.
Your lack of transparency is enough.
Okay, Mr. Garricky. Jonathan?
Well, I'm Jonathan Yerke, 727 North 25th Street, and I rehearsed this to get it down to 3 minutes, so if I
Don't wait,
miss it
go.
by 15 seconds, please forgive me. I will agree with the last 2 speakers, but at this point, I'd like to talk about inflation. And in Paducah, between 1996 and 2021, wages have increased an average of 134%. Asphalt prices in the last 5 years have increased 100%. The total street budget has increased from $2.9 million to $3.3 million, which is only a 16% increase in 3 years, so we're falling way behind inflation as far as streets go. Paducah has 446 lane miles of street, and the average life expectancy of a street is 18 years. That means that you need to be replacing approximately 12 and a half miles, 2 lanes, 12 and a half miles of street per year simply to maintain what's already in place. not counting annexation, not counting new subdivisions, not counting new streets, just what's here, need to be spending approximately $12 million a year. However, we're only spending 3.395, which is a 253% underfunding. The longer this can gets kicked down the road, the bigger the can gets, and someday this council is going to break their leg kicking it again. But this council will approve several $1 million to build a sports complex in hopes that it will draw more tourists. Tonight, you're apparently approving $702,000 for a pickleball court in hopes that it will draw more tourists. Now, I firmly believe that Build It and They Will Come makes a great movie. It makes a lousy strategy to manage a city. Approximately 5 years ago, this city spent $1 million for a study to determine what to do about the stormwater, the drainage and whatnot to correct the flooding. And yet to date, not a dime has been spent to actually take any action on what that $1 million study told you needed to do. So you're letting tax-paying citizens sit in mud puddles while you build pickleball courts in hopes that it will attract more tourists. I think that's a lousy way to manage a city. I have copies of all this for each of you. I made one correction on the back because I made a typo. Let's see.
Thank you.
I have all the references of where I got the information.
Thank you.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Garricky. We do not have an executive session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.